Alf, morning. How are you? It is another week. It's another hottest sports cards on eBay. The NFL draft will have already happened when this video comes out. And so this week we are going to look at heavy on football cards, but we've also got basketball, we've got baseball, and we're looking at the PSA eBay store, which of course tied to the PSA Vault. A big reminder here of the ecosystem is now the PSA eBay store and how it all works together. One huge new feature that has been rolled out on the PSA eBay store is now you've got or best offer as an option. So the way this was working is if you grade cards through PSA, you can send all of them home. You can send none of them home, send them to the PSA Vault to sell on eBay, maybe down the line if you'd like. Or you can send some home and send some to the PSA Vault to then sell on eBay later on. But it was that you could just do auctions and you could do buy it nows, but you couldn't do best offer options. Now you can do that. So you've really got the full scale of eBay at your leisure to use with the PSA eBay store. Additionally, if you buy a card on eBay, you can just send it off to the PSA Vault if you're thinking, you know what, maybe I want to sell this in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. As opposed to shipping back and forth, listing it yourself on eBay, you can just put it over to the PSA Vault and sell it later on. Also, don't forget, if you've never used PSA before or you have a friend that hasn't used PSA before, use the SCD25 promo code at the shipping and billing screen to get $25 off that first order. It's just a one card minimum to try out PSA. It's a nice way to get a feel for how the system works, how the whole thing goes start to finish, and you get $25 off. Can't beat it with the SCD25 code. All right, let's look at some amazing cards here this week that are in the PSA eBay store. Let's flip the camera around. Sports card hobby family, welcome back to another episode of the Sports Card Dad, and we've got our weekly hottest sports cards on eBay. This is going to be a fun one. We're going to dance around all sorts of different places here in the PSA eBay store. Don't forget to save the PSA eBay store as a saved seller so that you don't miss out on any of the diamonds in the rough that are over here on eBay for PSA. All right, we're going to start off with a card that I'm just not going to play games. We're going to start off with a massive card that's sitting here at auction. At time of recording, this one's sitting at $31.50 and it ends on Sunday evening. So this episode is going to air. It's going to go either Friday morning or Saturday morning. So there'll be a day or two left on this thing. But I was looking at card ladder data, and again, with vintage cards, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So it's a 4. This is a really nice looking 4 to me. You know, when you look at the centering on this card, is it perfectly centered? Absolutely not. But the registration on this thing, especially when you're looking at Willie's face here, this is the 51 Bowman Willie Mays rookie card, of course, and just an absolute beast of a hobby card, one that I would love to own at some point. And this one just caught my eye because when I look at the card ladder data, these sell in kind of the $6,000 to $7,000 range in a PSA 4. That's what we've seen here recently. This one being about half that at time of recording. And so wanted to bring this one to your attention in case you happen to have been in the market for this particular card. I am in the market. I'm not quite there yet, and probably not at this price point. I'm probably more like in a 1.5, a 2, maybe a 2.5, depending on price point. This one's probably going to end outside of my range, but I had to bring this one up as just an all-time classic. I mean, if we're looking at 50s baseball cards, this is a top 5 50s baseball card in my mind. Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid, the 5-tool player that was just unbelievable. I think really he's the best baseball player of all time. If you go to steroid area and you're going to include Barry Bonds in it, then his godson, Barry Bonds, is in the mix there as well. But what a tremendous card we've got here. Next up, we'll stay on baseball. And this is a card, again, this is going back to my childhood, 1989 Don Russ. And with all the Paul Skeens excitement and the hype around, Paul, it looks like he's coming a little bit back down to earth here as we start out this season. But, I love the fact that there is excitement around pitchers, because when I was growing up, you did have guys like Greg Maddux and John Smoltz and Tom Glavine and the Randy Johnsons of the world, and some really top flight pitching. And not to say that necessarily the cards were super expensive back then, but I love the fact that we're starting to, look at pitchers and not just hitters when it comes to baseball cards. This is, of course, the classic rated rookie 89 Don Russ. I did look again at eBay sales recently. This card's selling in kind of that $55, $60 range. So this one's sitting at buy it now. A little bit high for what this one has sold for. But again, just wanted to bring it to your attention. If you see one of these kind of at auction, or maybe the buy it now, maybe this person adds an OBO to the listing. Yeah, this is kind of selling here recently in the $60 to $65 range. If you look Not a super rare card, but for 89 Donruss, considering this is junk wax era, 1,400 or so in a 10, 4,200 in a 9. So if you just want to have a mint copy of the card, that's probably a $30 or $40 card in a PSA 9. So again, really beautiful collector card. I just love, again, this is from my childhood, so this is that nostalgic design. Of course, the rated rookie cards for Optic and Donruss for the newer releases, they still are popular for this exact reason, because when we were growing up, a lot of us 40-somethings, this was a big deal, this rated rookie logo here. And so wanted to bring this card to your attention. Randy Johnson, an absolute beast at the mound. Different sport, same era. This is, again, going back to my favorite set of all time. It's 89 Score Football. I've told this story on my channel many, many times. These were the expensive packs when I was a kid. I was buying 89 Pro Set because you could get them for 75 cents a dollar a pack at the grocery store, at the gas station. You could find Barry Sanders and Troy Aikman rookies in Pro Set, but they were college unis. It was Troy Aikman in his UCLA uni. It was Barry Sanders in his Oklahoma State uniform. Still great cards. I love 89 Pro Set. But the 89 Score stuff, this is where, of course, you've got the portrait cards. Deion Sanders has a great card in this set as well. We're talking about Shedeur Sanders. His son is now being drafted. Time flies. But 89 Score Barry Sanders will always be one of my all-time favorite cards in my all-time favorite set. People kind of talk about coffin cards, like what are you going to go to the grave with? And I kind of joke, but I actually think this would be kind of a cool thing and maybe like a funny thing at my funeral where they're sprinkling in 89 Score football cards, as the coffin is being closed. I know that sounds kind of dismal. Sorry, that's just my dark sense of humor coming out. But here's a card right here where in a PSA 10 for this card, they sell anywhere from $1,100 to $1,300. But in a 9, a mint copy of this card, and again, they are fairly abundant here. In a 9, this is why. So in a 10, you've got 2,400 or so copies. In a 9, you've got 12,000 plus copies. This is a $100 card in a 9. Now, I bring this one up because someone just ran this basically at 99-cent auction. It's at $2.25 at time of recording. Maybe, and if there's a card you want, you watch it. Maybe maybe you get it for $80, $90. They do sell consistently kind of in that $100 to $120 range. But again, for me, it's not a rare card, but it is an all-time classic card. And this is the best running back I ever watched play on TV. Yeah, I never saw him in person, unfortunately, but and I know that a lot of people say Jim Brown and Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith and name kind of all the other guys, but Barry Sanders was just otherworldly watching him as a kid. All right, we'll switch over to some ultra modern. The guy that, man, started his career absolutely on fire. Of course, it's Victor Wembanyama, the 7'4" center / guard / I mean, this guy can play defense. He can, shoot threes. He can dunk. I mean, they call him the alien for a reason. I mean, this guy is absolutely unbelievable to watch. One of my favorite players in the current NBA. I'm just worried about him with the size, his build. I hope that he can kind of beef up a little bit and, just not be prone to injuries. And unfortunately, he's got a blood clot issue that they've got to work out. Of course, it ended his season. And it's not necessarily like a lower leg issue or something, knees or something that's given way. It's a blood clot thing. And the hope is that he's able to work around this and still have a long NBA career. And if this guy can stay injury-free or mostly injury-free, man, he's got all the talent in the world. We've never really seen a player quite like this. His size, as far as his height and what he's able to do on the court. Actually love watching him play defense more than anything in an NBA that is now really void of defensive play. It's really crazy to watch. I played a clip here on a different video where Giannis, who is a big guy, was driving the basket and Wembanyama blocked him 2 different times. And Wembanyama, it looked like it was like a man playing with kids. It was weird watching a guy as big as Giannis look small on the court, and he did up against Victor Wembanyama. This is a card that's very interesting. So, of course, on fire when it came out, PSA 10 Silver Prism. I love the look of this card. I know some people aren't a fan of the curtain in the background. What's happened with it is they're grading a ton of these. So now you've got 4,400 10s roughly, and you've got 2,000 9s. There's actually twice as many 10s and 9s, which tells you that the gem rate is high for this particular card. I think patience is probably a good thing with this particular card, just to kind of see where it goes. Card Ladder data shows recent sales in the $700, $750 range. This one's sitting at $400, and I've been kind of wondering to myself, especially as we enter into NBA playoffs and Wemby kind of out of the spotlight, not being thought of, will this card slide a little bit just because you do have a fair amount of them out there? They are available, but demand is still very high for them. Can this card hit the $500 range? Now, again, they're selling in the $750 range. They haven't taken a huge haircut from when he was playing. They were at kind of an $800 to $1,000, type price point, and they drifted down to about $750. But keep in mind, people still grading a lot of these. What's that going to look like? Are there going to be 10,000 tens? Are there going to be 15,000 tens eventually? Something to keep in mind. But this one's still sitting here. It's at $400, and at time of recording, when this actually comes out, maybe a day or two left, where will it end? Will be interesting to see. Flipping back over to baseball, interesting card here, and a guy that is in high demand, again, for current players in Major League Baseball. Bobby Witt Jr. started the season off well. He's got a couple of homers at time of recording. He's batting, 300, 308. So still playing strong here for KC. This, of course, being just popular baseball cards. This one in particular, Bowman First Refractor. It is numbered out of 499. It is in PSA 10 condition. Sitting here at time of recording at $987, ending in 3 days, again, at time of recording. It'll be a day or two when this comes out. Where does this land for folks? I'm wondering, from the baseball card people, are you still buying Bobby Witt? Now, this one, it's numbered out of 499. There are 94 10s for this auto. You've got 104 in a PSA 9. And again, I'm kind of wondering is there kind of a nice collector price point, 14 and an 8. If you just want to own the card, there doesn't necessarily have to be a 10. We talk about it all the time. Of course, some people are going to want to pay up, have it in a Gem Mint 10 holder, but a lot of value probably here too if you just want to have the card in an 8 or a 9 at a discount. What are your thoughts? Put your thoughts down there in the comments below on Bobby Witt Jr. A card that was very popular going back a few years, especially during the pandemic. 2018 Optic. This is the shock version. I always like these. Some people are not really much of a fan of kind of the design here. It's kind of like that flash shock, parallel. I really like these cards. I've owned this card in the past. I think I had it in a 9 though. I don't believe I had it in a 10 ever. These cards, of course, during the pandemic, man, they got way up there. They've corrected back down. This one, if we look at Card Ladder data, it's selling right about $400 for a PSA 10 of this card. And they do usually have print lines and things. There's typically issues with this shock card. So it's not to say that it's a rare card at all in a 10, but overall just a great looking card. And what will happen here with the Lakers and Luka? It's very interesting. The series is tied 1-1 at time of recording with the Wolves. Can LeBron and Luka pull out a title? Man, that would be unbelievable. If you think about the basketball card market, and it's not to say that LeBron cards are inexpensive or Luka cards are inexpensive, but if LeBron adds a 5th title, ties Kobe, he's the all-time leading scorer, and then you've got Luka get his first title as a Laker. That would be an amazing storyline. The NBA could really use that storyline. I think you've got the up-and-comers coming. You've got the Thunder, you've got the Cavs, you've got teams that are knocking on the door. But and another guy, Steph Curry, can he add one more? Can he get a 5th title? These guys are trying to add to their legend as they leave the league here, over the next few years, we're assuming. And then you've got the young bucks coming up. You've got the Lukas of the world. You got the Shays. You've got the Jokers, the Jason Tatums. How many titles are these guys going to have as we move forward? Giannis, kind of a forgotten guy out there. He won a title. Is Giannis going to be able to add another title? There's a lot of kind of these younger guys that are hanging around and trying to make plays here. And look, the LeBrons and the Steph Currys and the Kevin Durants of the world, their time is nearing, and Father Time is undefeated. And their careers are coming to a close here over the next few years. So Luka is going to be an interesting one to watch. Speaking of an interesting one to watch, all the guys that the NBA players now are chasing, of course, it's the GOAT. It's Michael Jordan. I like highlighting cards like this here in the PSA eBay store because this one running at auction. So there's a lot of buy it nows and people just kind of trying to, get the most that they can. But here's a PSA 2. And again, it boils down to, do you just want to own a copy of the card? And there is kind of a floor on these cards. This is to me, the most iconic Michael Jordan card that exists, the 86 Flair number 57. It is recognized, even for non-card collectors, people that are outside of our little niche hobby. People know this card. They recognize it. And this one, to me, in a 2 looks really good. Of course, if you see, the corners are banged up. I like this because this means it's not trimmed. This means that it hasn't been messed with on the corners. The edges are fine. It's just got, kind of those rounded corners, and it's a 2. Now, card ladder data shows the last 2. And again, this is going to vary depending on how a 2 looks. A 2 can look very different from another 2, or even a 3 or a 4. But a recent sale at about $2,000, $2,100. To me, this kind of feels like a floor for this card, about $2,000, just because it's so iconic. Is it a hard to find card? No, absolutely not. If we look at the PSA data, they've graded a ton of these. There's 326 in a 10, but overall you've got 28,000 and change population of all grades. So this is not a rare card by any stretch. It's just a very, very important hobby card. And so one to watch here. At time of recording, it's about $1,000. The recent comp on the card is about twice that for a PSA 2. So I'm going to watch this and see where it ends. I think that this could be a nice buy. What if this one slips through the cracks and ends at $1,500 or something? What a great buy. All right, we'll stay on the Michael Jordan train. This is second year Michael Jordan, 87 Fleer. This one is in an 8. Starts to get a little pricey. I believe the 9s are about $1,200. I'm guessing a little bit here. The 8s, I think they sit about $400 to $500. This one at $365. So I wanted to highlight it at auction. At time of recording, 6 days, so 4 or 5 days to go when this comes out. But again, I think this one normally sits about $400 or $500. But again, these cards are always off-centered when I see these. And also, a lot of people don't realize that the print run for 87 Fleer was less than 86 Fleer. Again, not a rare card at all. If we look at the PSA data here that's provided to us, in a 10, there's only a couple hundred. In a 9, 2750. And then in an 8, there's 8,400. So a lot of options in an 8, but I think that's why you're able to get this card for, $350, $400, $450. But again, I'm a huge fan of these early Jordan cards. So much attention. I'm actually going to probably do a separate video on this, but so much attention on 90s Jordan, 90s inserts, 90s numbered stuff. All fantastic cards. But again, as we move through time, I really like the early 80s stuff. There's not lots of early 80s cards if we're talking about the individual cards that were offered during the time period when he was just starting his career. And this is one of my all-time favorite cards for him. Looks like he's just bringing the ball up. Awesome. All right, we'll highlight one more Michael Jordan card from the 80s, and I own this card in a PSA 9. Of course, this is a fantastic picture from the dunk contest. It's the 88 Fleer. It's the All-Star number 120. This one's in a PSA 9. This one sells routinely kind of in that $350 to $400 range. We've got some card ladder, mixing it all up, card ladder data to show us. This is about a $350 to $400 card. So it's just a great looking card. And again, just takes me back to my childhood. I remember this card before grading was just a very popular card at the card shop. Again, Michael Jordan he came out in 84, and then over those first few years, absolutely electric, took over the league. And these are those early 80s cards that I just really enjoy here. The 9 at $350 to $400 to me is kind of a nice buy for a collector. When you get into the PSA 10s for these, where you got 385, then you're looking at, $4,000, $5,000. It's a huge jump to go up into 10. Whereas at the 9, you've got almost 4,000 of these. So again, not a rare card, but a really nice collector card of the GOAT. Can't beat the picture. All right, let's flip back to football. It's NFL draft week. We got to cover some more football. And a guy that was electric over for the Eagles. The Giants are kicking themselves a little bit. Will they surprise some people at number 3 and take Genty, maybe a replacement to a Saquon Barkley that got away? That would be a surprise pick to take Genty there. Looks to be a just incredible running back coming out of Boise State. It is a deep draft for running backs, though, so we'll have to see how this plays out. This, again, it's the rated rookie. We showed the Randy Johnson rated rookie earlier in the show. And this, of course, the iconic logo there, the rated rookie, the optic in a PSA 10. This card, I looked at recent comps, selling right at $120 to $140. So this one's sitting at $185 here, or best offer. Remember, that's a new option over at the PSA eBay store if you're choosing to sell cards. So you've got all the options at your fingertips there by using this feature. So if you're looking for it, they sell at the $120 to $140 range is what recent sales have been here for. Again, I really like these optic rookie cards. These are popular. kind of the different stances that they have. That, of course, we looked at the Luka one earlier, and these are very popular hobby cards, I think, for that particular reason. Saquon, will the Eagles continue their reign? They looked so strong last year. Can they repeat? We will find out soon enough here in a few months. We'll stay on the Eagles here for a minute. Speaking of repeating, the guy that helped them get over the hump at quarterback, Jalen Hurts, he was almost there over the last couple of years. He's received a lot of flack for fumbling, kind of holding the ball a little bit too long. He is kind of a scrambler, big guy trying to extend plays, but he does fumble the ball on occasion. It really cost them, going back in time when they played the Chiefs in the first Super Bowl. Eagles really in control of that Super Bowl, and then he had that fumble. And man, I think he wanted that one back. When they just played, obviously that was on his mind. That was a revenge game. And man, did they get their revenge. Here's a nice copy. This one's numbered out of 249, the orange prism Jalen Hurts rookie card. Going back to that 2020 draft class where you've got Tua, you've got Burrow, you've got Herbert, you've got Jalen Hurts, you've got Justin Jefferson. There are so many great rookies out of 2020 football. I took a look at some card ladder data. This one, there was a recent sale, I believe in a 175 range. So this one a little bit high in that 175, probably to $200 range is a typical kind of comp for this card. This one's sitting at 279. And I wonder if maybe the seller's looking for, okay, we've got NFL draft, we got OTAs coming up. There's going to be some football buzz. Maybe people will pay up for this particular card. Maybe the Eagles draft somebody that's exciting to everybody, and he's able to squeeze out a little bit more here. But this is a great card. It's in a mint 9. It doesn't always have to be a 10. The mint 9s are also fantastic cards here. One for Jalen Hurts. Oh man, speaking of a guy that I know a lot of people would really like to see get over the hump. Of course, he was playing for the Rams when he was drafted, and now he is with the Lions. It's the epic trade, the Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff, kind of switcheroo. And Goff has played really well for the Lions. Stafford did get a title. He got a Super Bowl championship over there in LA. I would really like to see Goff and the Lions win. Of course, I want my New Orleans Saints to win, but realistically, the Lions are just a lot closer to it. Unfortunately, they got beat up with injuries. They lost in the playoffs, this past season. Really had lost, just too many guys to overcome, really, especially on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of their pass rushers out. If the Lions can stay healthy, man, they are loaded again and primed, I think, for another run. This is a beautiful 2016 Select Prism Gold Goff rookie card. It's numbered out of 10, and it's in a BGS pristine holder. Man, what a beast of a card. 32.95 OBO. And again, I think it's, somebody got a really nice Goff card here looking for, a Lions fan, somebody that's a really kind of a diehard Lions fan to get a nice, really nice Goff rookie card. Even though this one on the high end, as far as the asking price here, I wanted to share it just like, man, this is a really rad card, for a Goff collector or a Lions collector that's like, you know what? I think that the Lions are going to get over the hump. I'm that's thinking maybe they're a believer in the Goff and the guys team heading into the season that is coming up. Last but certainly not least, the Bears, a very intriguing team. My stepdad's a huge Bears fan. They're picking number 10 in the draft, and we'll know when this comes out, when this video comes out, we'll know, did Caleb Williams get an offensive weapon to help him out? Did the Bears go defense with that number 10 overall pick? Caleb Williams showed signs last year, and the Bears lost a lot of games on the last second. What was it? Jaden Daniels threw a Hail Mary to beat the Bears as one of the games that they lost. I mean, they just lost a bunch of really close games. Caleb Williams did show some promise, and this card is just a beautiful card here. We've got the blue, we got the auto variation blue refractor. I really like the Topps Chrome design. I understand that this is not a licensed card, but this is a color match, numbered out of 150. It's in a PSA 9 holder. They're asking $5.99 on the bin for this one. I'm not a huge fan of the auto on the card, frankly. I mean, can we get something more than a CW here, Caleb Williams? I know they're having you sign a lot of cards, but man, I'm not thrilled about the auto, but I do like the design. The Topps Chrome design, I hope they don't mess with it too much. It's got a retro feel to it. I like how it says Chicago up there at the top. I like the New Orleans versions as well. These are going to be really rad cards when they're fully licensed, next year. I mean, when they're fully licensed, I know it's a little thing, it's a small thing, but that small thing is a big thing. I'm excited to see what Chicago can do. I think the NFC North is the toughest division in all of football. You've got the Lions, the Vikings, You've got the Packers, and then I think you've got a Bears team that's improving because they do have the number 10 overall pick. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a legitimate quarterback. They've got Ben Johnson over as the head coach now from the Lions, and they picked up, which I think this is really underrated, Dennis Allen, who was the coach of the Saints. Not a great head coach for the Saints, but he is a top-notch defensive coordinator. And so he is their new defensive coordinator over there in Chicago, game planning-wise. They're going to be tough. So I think the NFC North is going to be the toughest. It's going to be a slaughter fest out there for that division. So we'll see what happens there in Chicago. Wanted to highlight this card. Again, we got NFL draft coming up, season's coming up, and I think Caleb Williams is going to be primed to step in as kind of one of these top flight NFL QBs. We will see what happens. Friends, thank you very much for joining me here again for another episode of the hottest sports cards on eBay. Don't forget to use the promo code to get that $25 off your first PSA submission. Or if you're a frequent PSA submitter, tell a friend. There's a lot of people that have not used PSA before, and $25 off, one card minimum to try out PSA. You can't beat it. SCD25 promo code. Friends, have an amazing weekend. Healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.